If you're shopping for homes right now in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Greensboro, High Point, anywhere in the Triad, the suburbs, you're probably seeing a situation like we are in a lot of the country. There are more buyers than there are sellers right now. That has a lot of people looking towards new construction when previously they hadn't considered that. So in this video, I want to go over some things that you really have to know if you're thinking about buying a new construction home in Winston-Salem, Greensboro, or the High Point area of North Carolina. We're getting after it right now. Hey, it's Jeff Valentino, and like I said in the first part of the video, many people now are looking at new construction, and it can be a great alternative to buying an existing home. You know, you get a brand new house with the most updated floor plan, with the cabinets and countertops you want, the flooring you want, in an area that's, a developing neighborhood. So there are definitely some positives to it. There are also some things to look out for. One of the biggest things to look out for in new construction is that it is almost always going to cost you more than a similar sized house with similar finishes. Meaning you can buy an existing house with granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, upgraded cabinets and flooring, all that good stuff like that, for less than you could the same new construction house. Usually new construction is about 10 to 15% more than existing houses. Now, the cost of new construction has gone up this year tremendously due to costs in labor and lumber. So those costs are rising. One estimate says that the average new construction house has gone up $16,000 this year. So that's definitely one of the pitfalls of new construction, is it costs more. So we're going to talk about some things that you really have to know and really need to check out before you buy a new construction home. These are things that maybe the builder doesn't want you to know, but you really should know, so you can go in there and get yourself the right house for the right amount of money and the best deal. So the first thing that you should know is just to do due diligence on the builder. They're not all created the same. I've seen builders that are national companies and small independent builders, and they can do a great job, or there can be a ton of problems with the house. So really you want to do due diligence on the builder itself. You really want to check the rating with the Better Business Bureau. If there is something wrong, try to get a good explanation for that. The next thing you should know is standard versus upgrade. Now, this is especially important if you're taking a look at different homes in different communities with different builders, because one person's standard might be a linoleum floor, where this builder's standard is an upgraded vinyl floor, and another one's, and so on and so forth. So they can vary in between builders. So it's really important to understand standard versus upgrade for the different builders, and to actually see samples of these things to make sure that they're gonna fit your needs, because the entry-level carpet they might have on there might have a really thin padding, and it just really might, you might not like it. You might want to upgrade that, whereas the other one, that comes standard. So it is really important to take those things into consideration when you're looking. So get a really good idea on standard and upgrade, especially if you're looking at different builders in different neighborhoods. The next thing that you really should know is how the taxes are calculated. I see this one all the time. I look through the MLS and I'll see new construction home listed, and it'll have wildly different tax rates. Well, why is that? How does that work? Well, the tax rate in North Carolina is dictated by the county. There's a rate, and then sometimes the town and stuff will have some add-ons and things like that. But for this video, I want to just explain that, say we're working off the same standard rate. So that amount that tax is going to be calculated on is the value of the house and the land. And this is where you see a lot of builders get all crazy with it. Some have just the cost of the land in there, so the taxes will seem lower. Some don't have any taxes in there, so when you're calculating payments, it's not even figuring that in. Some will have a house that recently sold that's just like it down the street, and last, some will have just as their base model house with no upgrades, and where yours is going to be where a normal house is going to be 10 or 20% more than the house that they're showing you. The reason this is important is because if you're going to set up an escrow account with your taxes in your mortgage company, where they're going to, you're going to pay into that every month, and at the end of the year, they're going to pay that tax bill for you, you have to know what the taxes are and what you're being prorated off of, because if that number is off, say it's just on the land versus the land and the house, right? One is your monthly payment is either going to be way higher than you thought it was going to be, Or two, when it comes down to tax time, you've been paying your monthly payment all year, you find out you didn't have enough in your escrow account, and now you get hit with a big tax bill that you were not expecting. So really taking a look at how the builder looks at the taxes and how they're calculating them is important to know, especially versus completed homes in the area and what they're going to be paying. Now again, it's no cost for you to have a realtor do this. So my suggestion would be is to find a realtor that you like and have them walk you through this process to double check, make sure the I's are crossed, I's dotted and T's crossed, and that you're looking at all these different things. If you have questions about it, feel free to reach out to me, 336-837-5924. You can call or text, or you can email me at jeff@govalentino.com. So the next thing you should know about when it comes to buying a new construction home is that builders charge for everything. So many times when I'm helping a client and say their budget is $300,000, so we start looking at houses with a base price of $300,000, that you need to know that there's going to be add-ons on there. You want a front lawn most of the time, that's extra. You want different light fixtures, that's extra. You don't want, a really basic faucet, that's extra. That's extra. So you have to plan for a lot of these upgrades. It's simple enough to do, but don't start at the top of your price range at the house you're looking for, because you're going to want to add on stuff almost every single time. I don't know anybody that's just got the base house that they're starting with and that's all I want and that's all it is. You're almost always going to want to add things in there. There are going to be things like lot premiums. If you want to be, almost always there's an easy way for a builder to add in costs is a lot premium, or upgraded, level 2 carpet versus level 1. There's just so many different things that builders can charge for. So I really recommend if where you're going to be comfortable with your mortgage payment is $300,000, that you start looking for the homes that are going to be substantially less than that, so you have time and you can add in those add-ins comfortably. Now, along that note, on upgrades, what you also want to know is you don't want to over improve your house. I've seen this happen before, where a client starts with a nice house and they upgrade everything to the moon and back. It's great, and the budget, the payments and everything worked. However, what they did not consider is they drastically were over improving that house for that neighborhood. Meaning that house has so many more upgrades, it doesn't match any of the neighbors around them or anything like that, and then the house does not appraise. When the house doesn't appraise, that's extra money that you have to come up with out of your pocket, or you have to go, walk away from the deal, or, try to take some of those upgrades back. So you have to be really careful not to over improve your house at the same time. So again, make sure you're in that level where it's comfortable and it's going to be comparable with what's going on in the rest of the neighborhood. Okay, and the last thing on upgrades that you should know, and this is a little bit counterintuitive, but take into consideration if it would make more sense for you to pay for that upgrade now, or if it would make more sense for you to do it later after you move in. Now, I know that sounds weird. I just bought this brand new house. Why am I going to upgrade something after I just moved in? Well, the simple fact of it is sometimes the builder charges so much for that it makes more sense to have a weekend project that you can do, over a couple weeks, or even have another outside company come in and save 20, 30, or 40% off with what the builder was charging for that upgrade. So things like, light fixtures, even some flooring and painting and things like that, sometimes that can just be done much cheaper by you after the fact. So just, if you're gonna have that upgrade, make sure it's a have to have and it's in line with what you think that pricing should be. All right, now the next thing you should know, and builders really don't want you to know this, but I'm gonna go ahead and spill that tea for you. Is that how that saying goes? I'm not sure. Anyway, here's what they don't want you to know is that you can negotiate, and you can negotiate with builders. Now, here's the two places where you can do it the best. It's not always on the price, because remember, like we said before, we don't want one house to be much lower than the rest of the houses in the neighborhood. They want to keep those at a similar price point so they don't ruin their own comps. So I understand that. But there is some money that's negotiable in there, but where it's really negotiable is 2 spaces in existing houses. Now remember I said they often put upgrade packages aside for realtors to try to get us to bring clients out to their new build projects and things like that. So they have a set of exclusive often upgrades, and maybe they'll go from a level 1 to a level 3 for the same amount of money instead of to a level 2, but you can press them a little bit on upgrades and you can ask for more, and that's often a spot where you can do some good negotiating and have some of that stuff thrown in. The other spot where you can really negotiate is if there are any existing homes or partial, homes that are 70% done and they really need to find a buyer for it. Those are where you can get some money off the price. And those, say they were using one for a model and now they're in a different phase of the neighborhood, or one in a deal fell apart and they just really want to get that sold and off their books. Those are ones where you can get a little bit better deal on the price when it comes to negotiating. And the next thing you should know is when it comes to lenders, it's not always in your best interest and it's not always the most cost effective to use the builder's lender. Just like everything else in real estate, just about, that is negotiable and you're entitled to use whatever service provider you want. Just like you can bring your own agent or not, you can go get your own lender if you want as well. Now the builders, and again, they might not like me for telling you this, but they might entice you by giving you extra upgrades or waiving closing costs. They package it in a lot of different ways, but if you use our lender. And the simple fact of it is oftentimes that's not the best deal for you. That's the easiest and best deal maybe for them and their lender, but I've had lenders come in from outside of the builder and they've been able to beat the builder's lender on fees and everything by so much, it even outweighed what upgrades that they were gonna get when it came to their final purchase price and payment. So again, make sure that you're at least comparing that lender with one or two others. It's always in your best interest to take a look at your options as far as that goes. And the last thing you really should know when you're considering new construction versus an existing home is you really need to plan to stay. And you need to plan to stay at least 3 to 5 years. And I'll tell you why. You see, the house that you're buying now, that builder's often gonna develop out that whole subdivision, right, in a couple different phases. So if you buy your house right now for $300,000, you get a job transfer or something happens, you add it onto your family or something and you need a bigger house in 2 years from now and you want to sell it, well, now you're competing with all the other brand new construction homes that are still priced around that $300,000 range. And if a customer has to choose a brand new home or a used house for $300,000, which are they more likely to choose if it's in the same neighborhood, same schools and everything else like that? It makes it a little bit tougher to sell. So in new construction, you really need to plan to stay minimum 3 years, and really 5 to 7 is probably more ideal with the appreciation that we see in Winston-Salem and Greensboro and things like that. So I hope that was helpful if you're thinking about buying a new construction house in Winston-Salem or anywhere in the Triad for that matter. I would love to be your boots on the ground. I'd love to be your go-to guy and walk you through this process. Again, you can call or text me at 336-837-5924, or you can email me at jeff@govalentino.com. Thanks so much and have a great day.